Okay, welcome everyone. We have the pleasure to have Gary Davidson from Castle Law. He's #1 attorney in Illinois. Today, he's going to talk about hidden real estate gems in the midst of COVID-19 pandemic. So, Gary, thank you very much for joining us today. And if you want to tell us a little bit more about yourself, and then let's get started.
Sure. Thanks so much, Hugo. I recognize a lot of the names on your screen, so it's always good to see names and share information and provide value to help you grow your business and help you create that life worth leaving, that career worth having, the business worth owning, and of course, investment properties worth selling. I own Castle Law. We are the largest real estate focused investment attorneys in the state of Illinois by volume. We probably close more investment real estate than probably twice as much as our next closest competitor. Because of my bandwidth and volume, however, and in scaling my business, I actually tend to be quite accessible to people. Because my why when I wake up in the morning is to help people grow their business and to provide a hand up to those who are getting started in real estate investing. We have 30 staff people and 15 attorneys, so as you can imagine, it's not needed for me to handle attorney modification letters or reviewing title commitments, but rather I'm focusing on individual investors identifying their one thing such that if I can help them, everything else will be easier or unnecessary on their goals and their objectives. So we're in January of 21, and so one of the things that I would challenge everybody on this call is that we have to identify that clearly, that clear dream life, that we want that clear total goal. And then once we've established what that dream life might look like, we need to establish a goal, a plan, and then back it with action. Now, all of this may seem like 10,000-foot gobbledygook that you might hear from some guru on stage, but it's really extremely important because I talk to investors all the time and I say, what's your goal? And they say, well, I want to buy 10 properties this year. I want to own 100 units. Well, if you had to think about that, in order to own 100 units in 5 years' time, what does that really look like? How many offers do we have to put in this month? How many contracts? How many inspections we have to do? And so you have to build that back. So I want you to think about, and then I'm going to actually talk substantively, but I want you to think about how we first placed a man on the moon, right? When NASA decided to put a person on the moon, they said that they wanted to have a man on the moon by a specific date. And then they built that backwards, and they knew every step that they needed to accomplish in order to hit that goal, so that they could self-evaluate all the way to determine whether they needed to do more or less based on the progress toward that date. So please don't fool yourself. Please don't kid yourself when someone asks you, what do you want to do? And you say, I want to buy 10 properties this year. Because that, if you want to buy 2 properties this month, you may have to put in 20 contracts. You may have to do 15 inspections. You may have to drive X number of miles. So whatever that plan is for you, you need to build it out fully. And that's really more important now than ever. Because what is the one thing that we hear always? And that is that there is limited finite inventory. Well, why is inventory finite? We need to examine that. For those of you who took a introductory economics course in college, or even if you didn't ever go to college. It's basic supply and demand. So if demand is high because interest rates are low, it eliminates supply because there are more people in the market that can afford homes and can pay more for homes because they can buy more house because their money goes farther. Interest rates last Friday hit an all-time low. I saw Juan Loya in the room. I mean, his interest rates for his company, all-time low on Friday. And so what does that do to the consumers? The consumers then are able to drive up prices because a person who couldn't afford a home before, the person who couldn't afford a $100,000 house before is now in the market. And that creates scarcity of resources for us as investors. Yet, for us as investors, it also creates a tremendous amount of opportunity. And COVID has established an awful lot of opportunities for investors. So if you're traditionally buying and flips off the MLS, you may be sitting on a bar stool and crying in your beer saying there's no inventory. But what it requires is it requires relationships with people like myself who have close personal relationships with all of the REO brokers. Ryan Smith's a very close personal friend of mine. He's the #1 REO broker in Illinois. He and I speak every day. So he can provide us with those opportunities. Now, what are those opportunities, in the midst of COVID? Some say that we're no longer in the midst of COVID. And once the new president was inaugurated, the restaurants opened and COVID was over. Well, that's political jargon. Obviously, we're still in the midst of COVID. It's going to be around for a while. And its impacts are going to last perhaps even longer than the virus. So let's just take a basic, some basic math and some basic facts that are not a secret, but they're also not widely known. We currently have millions of properties in the United States which are in default. Yet those banks are not able to file default proceedings. They're not able to file mortgage foreclosures based upon the moratoriums that exist. Governor Pritzker and many other states, California Governor, New York, and others have placed moratoriums on evictions. And that has a serious impact on the U.S. economy. It has serious impact long-term on how things happen. So what do politicians do? Politicians see whatever's right in front of their face, and they want to provide immediate relief. But as a result of that, in Illinois, pre-COVID, right? Pre-COVID, we're going to look at an average of about 24 to 28 months to get from point A to point B in a foreclosure proceeding. In other words, from lis pendens, from the time that they file to the time that it goes to Ryan Smith as a listing, you're looking at somewhere in the neighborhood of 2.5 years. Well, for those of you who are old enough to remember the Hillside Strangler before Governor Ryan fixed that situation, as cars build up on the interstate, it's not a one-for-one pushback in terms of the amount of time it takes you to get from, Joliet to Oak Brook. It actually can double, triple, and multiply quicker because that backup causes more length of a delay. So what do we know? We know that government operates at a snail's pace. If we can all agree on that, We also know, or we can be fairly confident, that once the governor removes the restriction on filing foreclosures, that the judges, the clerks, are not going to work overtime. They are government employees. They will check in at 9 and they will leave at 5, sometimes earlier. My friends, I'm 47 years old now. A lot of my buddies are on the bench. And they work very hard and they're public servants, but they're not conducting webinars at 6:30 like those of us who are in private practice. So what that means is that there's not going to be any overtime, they're not going to be working, and we're going to have just this massive, massive amount of inventory that's going to come on the market. And it's not going to be 2x, it may be 3x or 4x. In other words, we may not be looking at 2.5 years, we may be looking at 5 years, 6 years, okay? What does that really mean then with respect to foreclosures? Well, one, in order to predict what banks, asset managers, and other parties are going to do with these default assets is, in order to understand that, we need to recognize what is their best alternative, right? What's their best alternative to foreclosures? So, in my mind, the best alternative to foreclosures is going to be short sales. So, those people who are saying, gee, 2021 is going to be great for REOs. There's going to be this huge amount of REOs, HUD, VA, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, ServiceLink, auction properties. There's going to be a steady flow of those from prior properties that had been in the system but got stuck in traffic because of the moratorium. So those in process, that assembly belt will start to run again, and those will start falling off. But more importantly, there's going to be this big, big backlog. So if you have to think about it for a second, what's going to happen? Well, what's going to happen is the bank's going to say, I know to get from point A to point B is going to take me 4.6 years. Just picking a number out of the air. And I know that at that time, in that 4.5 year period, I may have the property be destroyed. I may have the property deteriorate. I may have the person still living in there for free and running up utility bills and not paying taxes, because if they're not paying their mortgage, their escrow account is out of balance. So all of these things cumulatively start adding up, adding up, adding up. And again, it's not a one-for-one thing. It just multiplies and multiplies. So one of the things that I think may be an edge for people is if you start building a opportunity to cherry pick short sales. And there are going to be a lot of people that were lured by the forbearance offerings, but that are those forbearance, by putting that balance on the back of the loan, that chicken comes home to roost at some point. If those of you remember Jeremiah Wright from back in the Obama days, he talked about the chickens are coming home to roost. Well, the chickens will come home to roost. And the chickens will come home to roost because someone who took advantage of that all of a sudden is going to have 6 months worth of payments due. And of course, we live in the United States of America. We live in a disposable society. So the person that wasn't paying, they didn't think to themselves, gee, I should probably start putting away $600 a month so that when the chickens come home to roost, I'll be able to manage this. No, they they went out and spent that money a lot of times. So they're not going to have an opportunity to pay that. So the bank's going to have to do is the bank is going to be looking at, I have 4.5 years to get this asset back, or I can move this asset, offer a short sale, get the asset off of my books. The other thing, and this is a bit of a prediction, but we had this the last time as a result of the one of the worst laws that was ever passed in this country, which is the Dodd-Frank Act, which effectively said that everybody in the United States was entitled to own a house, and made banks give mortgages to people that really shouldn't own a home, because not everyone should own a home. We want everyone to have an opportunity to have a house. We want everybody to have an opportunity to put themselves in a position to have a house, but not everyone should be have the right to own a house at any given time. I think the concept is if you give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. If you teach a man a fish, you feed him for a lifetime. So what happened with that was we forced these banks to give up all these loans. Then everybody got foreclosed on, the housing market collapsed, and the government bailed out the banks. Well, this very well could happen again as a result of the current administration's willingness to utilize governmental funds to assist banks and other individuals who may be in default, which actually could potentially be good for you, because that will open the door to these short sales. That's what we refer to as a loss share agreement, or the banks start to get money from the government in order for the banks to allow these assets to sell on short sale, and the government covers their losses. Obviously, all your Fannie and Freddie houses are already backed by government insurance. So we may see the government start to put restrictor valves again on inventory, because one thing that we can't afford in the United States right now is to have 5 million properties hit the market, because that would send our economy into a tailspin. So as the COVID allows banks to foreclose, and you have millions of assets that are in default, what did I say to make this very simple? Because I know I'm talking a lot of legal mumbo jumbo. The banks are wanting to get rid of those assets as soon as possible, right? So if they're pushing all those assets out the door, that puts 1 million properties on the market. What does that do to prices? It brings prices down. So the government may get active in giving money to banks to control the amount of product that goes on the market in any given time. Anyway, to make a long story short, what that means is there could be a massive, massive opportunity in the third and fourth quarter of 21 for short sales. There's a number of ways to identify and to locate short sale assets so that you can speak directly to people and provide them assistance and educate them. So a lis pendens notice is the first document that a bank must file when it is starting a foreclosure proceeding. It is a recorded document, recorded with the county recorder, that is recorded concurrently with the mortgage foreclosure proceeding in the court system. all documents recorded at a recorder's at the recorder's office are publicly available, and you have the opportunity to go online or to, I don't think you can go in person now to the recorder's office, but you can go online and you can see every single day the new Liz pendants that have been filed. So if Gary Davidson has a Liz pendants filed today, you can find that out, and you know where I live, and then you can reach out to me with opportunities and solutions. Now, as an asterisk on that, all of us as investors and as citizens of our community have a very serious responsibility to not be predators. Thank God for all of you investors, because if it wasn't for investors, attorneys would be at the bottom of the food chain. Now that we have investors, attorneys are no longer the most ill-repute people in society. But there's a reason that those things happen, and there's a reason why oftentimes attorneys have bad reputations and investors have bad reputations. Is because some people in our community do things that really shouldn't be done. So when we are reaching out to people, I recommend that you come from a place of contribution. You come from a place of compassion, that you want to create a win-win situation for yourself and that person that is in a bad spot. Because most of these people are in a bad spot because they've lost a job, because they've had a family member get sick. And who among us hasn't had that same situation happen to us? And how would we want to be treated if we were in that situation? So oftentimes, wholesalers will target people who are most vulnerable, that are weeks away from losing a property to a tax deed, weeks away from a property being sold at a sheriff's sale. And you tender a contract saying that it's a cash offer with no intention of closing on that property, with no exit strategy, all for the shameless purpose of making $5,000 or $10,000. And if you don't succeed, you have irreversibly impacted this person's life because you were their last lifeline. So there's an opportunity for sure, but I want you to recognize that it comes and you're charged with a very, very serious responsibility. We have, over the last year, spoken about this new wholesaler law, and we have talked about how it's unfair and the government's regulating, et cetera, et cetera. Folks, we've done this to ourselves because we have a lot of bad apples in our bunch who have engaged in predatory tactics to take advantage of people who least can't afford to be taken advantage of. So for those who know me, I am a bleeding heart, true and true, hardcore conservative Republican. So one might be surprised to hear me talk about all of these, these sorts of things, but I am not a hypocrite, and I believe in what's right is right and what's wrong is wrong. So, short sales, Hugo, I want to add value here where I can. I've been talking to a lot of out-of-state investors and a lot of doing a deal. Many of you might have saw on Facebook. It's an opportunity. I had a client that had a 94 unit in Chicago Heights under contract for $4.2 million. That he's going to decide not to close on that because we have another asset that we're going to close on. That's $40,000 a door. Chicago Heights is obviously a C or a C minus neighborhood. So if you have the stomach or metal to deal in that, there's some real cash flow opportunities there. I have these sorts of opportunities all the time that present themselves because of the volume of transactions I do. If I identify with my clients the types of products that they're looking for, I try to put my clients on those properties. I'm not ashamed to say that I try to help my clients first. I don't respond well to, if you find me a property, I'll let you close it. I don't need that at this point in my life. If I find a property, and I'll let you close it, well, how about if I find a property, I'll just buy it myself. I don't need the $500. I'm here to help people that want to be part of a team, that believe in integrity, loyalty, and want to really scale their business. Hugo, do you want to jump in here a second? And, aside from short sales, the MLS inventory is still very, very tight because of interest rates. So we're not seeing a tremendous amount of opportunity for flipping. There's still some opportunities for buying rental properties. Your wholesaling, for those of you who are wholesalers, the last year and a half should have been very, very good for you. If it wasn't, then there was something wrong with your business model, because, if there's tight inventory, then that's the time for wholesalers. As there becomes more inventory, then there's less need for people who are high net worth people to buy from wholesalers, because they can fill their cup with things from other sources. I was talking to Ryan Smith today, and Ryan believes that we're going to have a pretty significant market correction in 21. My pal Frank Montreux is a little bit more bullish on the market. Nobody can really predict this. I mean, everybody sees it from the lens that they want to see it. Ryan wants death and destruction because that's how he makes his money. Frank is, going to thrive better when things are rolling along. Hugo, if you're listening, or unless you just put me on here with everybody to blabber for an hour and 15 minutes, I don't know if there's an opportunity for people to ask questions or want to know what my hedge funds are buying. Can you hear me, Hugo?
Yeah, of course, Gary. I can hear you.
What is there? I can't remember with yours. Is there an opportunity for people to, in a sidebar or anything, ask questions?
Absolutely. So that's what we ask at the beginning of the webinar, just to post their questions on the chat. Friends, this is your chance. Please post your questions on the chat, or simply unmute yourself.
Okay. And I'm just looking.
So Maria Pena has a question. Where do we go online to find the Lee pendants? We have them in Chicago Deal Vault. Phil, can you please reach out to Maria Pena after the webinar, just to make sure that she has access to the Lee pendants from Chicago Deal Vault? There's another question. Is it possible to get in contact with Gary for any of the off-market deals? Absolutely. So let me just quickly share my screen. Gary Davidson is our preferred and only attorney in Chicago Deal Vault. So let me quickly share my screen. You need to go on the preferred partners and then look on their attorney. Boom, right here, Casolo, Gary Davidson. So we give you his email, personal contact information. This is how you can reach out to Gary Davidson.
I'll talk a little bit about wholesaling. I know some of you have heard about the wholesaling law, but I want to again kind of clarify some misconceptions. The Illinois legislature in the end of 2019 passed a law that said to the Illinois Brokers Act, there's no mention of wholesaling, whatever. That word is not used. It's a change to the Illinois Brokers Act that says that if you offer for sale, solicit, engage in sending out letters, mailers, Facebook ads, anything, that each one of those occurrences is up to a $10,000 per fine per act. So somehow, somewhere along the way, someone has interpreted and given out legal advice. You know, I don't know if it's Investor Title Services or who it is, but somebody's given advice that said that you get one free wholesale a year. And that's complete bullshit, okay? Let me just put that in legal terminology. That is complete bullshit. What the Illinois Brokerage Act says is that you can only do that once. And so if you sent 20 letters, that would actually be 20 occurrences. And the idea behind that was that if you are engaged in offering or if you are engaged in soliciting business for the purposes of selling it to someone else, that is, by definition, acting as a broker, and you are required to have a broker's license. And the purpose of having a broker's license is so that you're covered by certain ethical obligations covered under Brokerage Act, and as a realtor, duties of disclosure and ethics and whatnot. So Juan Loya, who's on this call, he actually knows a few brokerages that he could recommend to you who focus on representing real estate agents and supporting investor agents. But it's a two-step process. Number one, if you want to engage in a business, then it makes sense to get licensed. I don't know why people want to avoid that. I know a lot of real estate brokers, and it doesn't require, you know, a degree from the Harvard Business School to pass the brokerage exam. So that's very, very simple. But once you get licensed, that doesn't give you free rein to just do whatever you want. You still have to comply with all of the duties and obligations of a real estate agent. So you need to associate yourself with a brokerage that can assist you in making sure that you're compliant. And then once you are, then you can be exceedingly successful. You know, someone told me that, you know, there hasn't been any known prosecutions of this law yet, and I think that's actually true. I don't believe that the Department of Financial Institutions has prosecuted anybody under this, but that doesn't mean that we couldn't get, you know, 10,000 indictments next month. If I was an investigator with the state of Illinois, I would start with the 50 Facebook groups that we're all members of, where everyone is cavalierly posting all of their properties for sale, and you could probably get about 25% of the way balancing the state budget in fines that could be levied. So I feel like I'm a little bit, I think I must have drank too much caffeine. I feel like I'm a little amped up tonight. But all of this stuff is very, very, very simple if you do it the right way, and you can be extremely successful. You can make a lot of money. And wholesaling is another opportunity. And short sales, we have to be real careful when I talked about short sales and wholesaling. I have seen and the U.S. attorney will come knocking at some point. Some people that have said, you can wholesale a short sale, but you just hold the deed for the 3-month period. Well, at a closing, you sign something stating under penalties of perjury subject to prosecution under the United States Code that says that you have no other agreements with third parties. And that's signed on every short sale. It's called an arm's length affidavit. And that is subject to prosecution for fraud. Short sales are very, very difficult. We need to get all of the information from the banks to ensure that we can wholesale a short sale, because there are restrictions on that can cause some significant problems. Payment of transfer taxes, quitclaim deeds. We need to be avoiding quitclaim deeds. Those are under increased scrutiny. For whatever reason, some people are thinking that they can record quitclaim deeds without paying transfer taxes. The state of Illinois wants their money. Transfer taxes aren't all that expensive. It's a couple $100s for state and county transfer taxes. If you have a property under contract for $100,000 and you're selling it for $110,000, you better be remitting transfer taxes. The Illinois Attorney General, Lisa Madigan, is investigating those. I do know that. Quitclaim deeds are easy. You just grab them. 90% of fraud is committed on quitclaim deeds. You don't even know it's fraud. You didn't even realize it was fraud. But you gather up 90% of these quitclaim deeds that are out there, and there's a lot of times something wrong with them. So all of this stuff has meaning, and you need to do it with an agent that knows what they're doing, and a realtor that knows and an attorney that knows what they're doing, and get proper legal advice. Because I like to tell people, if I screw something up, I've got a $10 million malpractice policy behind me. We represent a lot of big companies like ExxonMobil, City of Joliet attorneys. We got to have big malpractice policies. If you screw something up, you have to explain it to your wife or your husband, or you have to look in the mirror. That's what I have malpractice insurance for, is if I make a mistake. I hope I never make a mistake. Certainly hope I don't make a mistake with any of you. I've had one claim in 25 years. My client got paid, and I was very happy about that. I was embarrassed that I made a mistake, but I was very, very happy that my client was compensated. Let's see here. I am on a roll. Have you noticed the difference, Jerry? Hey, Jerry, how's it going? Noticed the difference between Lisa Madigan's enforcement in real estate and Kwame Raoul's as Attorney General. Oh yeah, I forgot Kwame's the new Attorney General. So when I referred to Kwame, I was actually when I referred to Lisa Madigan, I was referring to Kwame Raoul. They're all part of the same Madigan machine. No difference there, Shir. Same thing. Are there any restrictions? Ty wants to know, are there restrictions if you put Chicago properties in an LLC that was created in Illinois? Great question. And we actually get this a lot. A lot of gurus out there talking about forming LLCs in Utah and Delaware and all that. The tax benefits for that, a lot of it has gone away. A lot of your groups like Renatus are based out of Utah, so they push you to a Utah guy. If you're going to operate, let's take about 5 minutes to talk about LLCs and corporations. To create an LLC and a corporation is very, very simple. But what people don't recognize is to create an LLC or a corporation in compliance with the Limited Liability Company Act and the Business Corporation Act are two totally separate things. So going online and filling out the 6 questions about who the manager is, who the owner is, et cetera, is one point the statute, if you can see my finger here, let me see, where's my camera? Here. And the statute's like this thick, right? It's 70 pages. So there's a lot of other things. Did you issue stock? Did you have a meeting? Do you have minutes? All of those things need to be done properly. Why? Well, a lot of offices are just one-man bands. They're real estate attorneys. We have 15 attorneys. I've got an entire division of my office, which are litigators, right? The litigators, see these beautiful bookcases behind me? I mean, probably $15,000 in bookcases. Those were built by people who formed LLCs and didn't follow the proper corporate formalities. So the lawyers in my office did what we pierced the corporate veil, meaning that the formation of the LLC was a mere alter ego of the person. So what that means is, again, and I'm not preaching this because it puts money in my pocket. I'm preaching this because it's real. If you form your own company without the assistance of an attorney, and anything is screwed up and you're sued, because why do we form LLCs? We form LLCs to minimize risk and maximize return. Minimize risk, we don't want our personal assets that we work so hard for to be seized. Maximize return for tax benefits. So if you form that, or you form that through an attorney that, kind of does it as a side job through, some paralegal they hired, then that's on you. And when we sue you and you lose everything because the corporate veil got pierced, you're stuck. But if you hire an attorney that actually does corporate law and you get sued and the corporate veil's pierced, then you're going to point the finger at the attorney and say, I paid you $750 and I got sued and the corporate veil was pierced. Cheapest form of insurance possible. So I always recommend, again, not because it's something that our firm does for clients, but I always recommend, it's somewhat foolish and short-sighted for people to say, oh, it's very easy and you can do it on your own. Because if you screw it up, again, all you can do is look in the mirror. What's the biggest challenge for you working with a new investor? What do they need to do to work efficiently with you and move from vendor to partner? Oh, Montro's on the line. This must have been my layup from Frank Montro. I didn't realize. Hugo, would you please unmute Frank? Is he still here? Can we do that? Can we?
I'm here. I'm here.
Oh, good.
Let's get on. I'm driving, but
Put your picture on. We want to see your beautiful face.
okay. Hold on one second. There we go.
Okay.
I'm in my car, so I'm driving. I just got done. I was on an internet TV show, so I did a deal with Yolanda, and we're done. So now I'm driving back to Command Center.
For those of you who don't know, Frank is one of the #1 investment attorneys in the Chicagoland area, does more volume than anyone. And this is what I'm talking about, guys. Frank, Ryan Smith, this circle, we are very, very tight knit. Hugo's part of our circle, and we share with each other and we share with our clients. And Frank is all about adding value and all about providing value. So I want to just, since Frank asked about vendor and partner, I want, for those of you who are new investors and are first getting into the game, get signed up with Chicago Deal Vault. The product is fantastic. It's going to give you access to all the off-market and
I think did Gary freeze or did I freeze?
Gary
I think you
did.
scared him.
I scared Gary away. So yeah, so what? Before Gary gets back on, let me reiterate what he's saying. So what's important is what he's probably didn't mention quite yet. What he was warming up to is that inventory's down. So the traditional ways of getting inventory are not there anymore, or at least at the moment. They'll come back, but can you afford to wait? And if not, then you need to be working with Hugo and working with us to help you find properties off market. That's what we do. So feel free to reach out to me and my team, and we'll be more than happy to find you off market properties. I think did we lose Gary? Did he go out into Neverland?
I believe so.
So
Phil, can you please
I
check
asked.
just to make sure that he gets back online?
All right, I asked him a question. I'm going to follow. I already know what Gary's going to say. So if it's okay, I'm just going to. I'm when you're working with an attorney, what's important is speed and the ability to close on a timely basis and stand by your word. The one thing is that that nobody likes is someone that gets involved in a deal and they keep changing their minds, or they back out of a deal. You lose your credibility. And you want to burn a bridge real quick, you do that. You want to burn a bridge with everybody involved, including your attorney. When they know that you're not reliable, they cannot promote you. So make sure that you're reliable. Make sure that you put a large down payment down as much as you can, and get your financing in order beforehand. If you're looking to get hard money, get approved ahead of time. Be more than happy to help you with some local suggestions. And then when you look at a property, make an offer. Make sure you did all your due diligence. Don't go a week later and say, "Oh, you know what? My contractor said the deal needs a lot more work. I'm out." That's one way to get yourself blackballed. So, and that I did give Gary a layup, and that was where he was going to take you guys to. I already knew the answer, but I was just giving him some information giving you a question to serve up some information. So if you're a new investor, you want to get involved with Deal Vault, you want to get involved with an organization like myself and Hugo. We have the experience. We're going to help you make money in this deal. A third of my clients are realtors, and they come to me because they know that I'm more experienced than anybody else out there, and then I have a better chance of nailing the ARV than anybody else does out there. And also, one of the things, Hugo, that I do is if somebody needs real verification, I've got appraisers that I can call and get an actual FHA appraisal dollar amount. It won't be, I can get one done for free or I can get it done full blown. But I can call an appraiser up and say, "I'm having a hard time with value here. Can you look at this and get back to me by the end of the day?" Absolutely. So by the end of the day, you'll know what the ARV is. So I mean that's critical in the business. That's why a lot of people use me, and that's why a lot of people go through Hugo, because I'm connected with Deal Vault, and I'm invested in Deal Vault because I believe in it. Because it provides, it's like there's other sources out there that do it, but Hugo's more all encompassing. He offers more. He offers not just a traditional sites to get properties, which by the way are closed now. So there's really no reason to have those right now. So you're better off at a fraction of the cost. You provide more value. I mean, it's just makes sense. And you've got you skip trace numbers. I mean, it's crazy stupid. So so I encourage anybody out there that's thinking about making a plunge, buy the program. And I know and Hugo, I know you're always running specials as well. Oh, all right, Gary. I was your warm up band, so now you're back. He back from his break. He had to take a call. I'm going to use the one line I heard that I love. I've been wanting to use this line. He had to take a take a pause. He had to take a pause for a physical cause. All right, I'm out of here, guys. Thank you, Gary. Thanks for letting me. I answered your question, by the way.
Oh, you answer the vendor partner thing?
Yeah, but that's all right. You can put your own spin on it. I put my spin on it, so I warmed you up.
That's okay. We can. I'm sure you did a perfectly fine job, Hugo. When my computer shut down on me, I lost all the chat. So if there's any other questions on there, Hugo, if you would read them, and I'd be glad to answer them.
Hey Gary, it's Juan. Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm looking to expand from just Illinois and, look at some other states, possibly, Florida, Texas for some other, opportunities. Question is, can my Illinois LLC function in other states, or do I need to create an LLC in the other states?
Oh, yeah. Thank you for getting me on point to my answer from before. So regarding the LLCs, I started going off on formation and what you need to do. In order to conduct business in Illinois with a Utah corporation, in order to conduct business in Indiana with an Illinois entity, you are required to register to do business in that specific state and in all states as a foreign entity. So you would contact the Secretary of State in the particular jurisdiction in which you're wanting to conduct business, and you would register. The impacts of failing to do so is that you would buy that asset in Utah and you don't register, and the Utah courts will not recognize an Illinois LLC, and therefore the individual members of the LLC will be personally liable. So we can 100% use our Illinois LLC in other states. However, we need to register it with that state. And then we need to make a determination on whether or not that entity is good to be used in that state, because every single state, some states don't recognize a foreign entity to conduct business there. Some states don't recognize it for real estate purposes. So each one of those specific instances are different depending upon what state you're operating in. We have 2 attorneys with advanced degrees in taxation that do syndication and SEC and all that stuff that I don't understand, which is most of it. And they are the brainiacs that know how to do all of that stuff to keep yourself safe. Because again, the key is an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. There's places to cut corners, and then there's places not to cut corners. So we can definitely conduct business in another state with our Illinois LLC by registering that and just making sure that that's the right entity for the specific jurisdiction that you're operating in.
Okay, excellent. Do me a favor, text me. Pete and I need to talk to you in the next few days then.
Okay, perfect.
All right, cool. Thank you.
And for those of you who don't know Juan, he's another good person to know. Juan is a regional manager of all things important and unimportant at Homebridge Financial, which is the largest 203K lender in the United States. 203K loans are basically allow you to build an entirely new house as long as it has a foundation, and I'm oversimplifying it. So that's an awesome resource for people, both to recommend to your buyer clients as well as to your use for yourself. As long as you have under 10 units, you can reach out to Juan and he can help you with that at Homebridge. The other thing that I wanted to mention, these things just pop in my head. We have often experimented with utilizing an addendum that predicates the closing cost credits that these buyers want on using one of the preferred lenders that we like to use. So in real estate, as in all businesses, we want to control our variables. And the reason McDonald's is so successful, even though the hamburgers suck, is that you can go to China, you can go to Los Angeles, New York, Chicago, the fries taste the same, the hamburger tastes the same. So they deliver a consistent product consistently. But with real estate, we all work so hard, and then, it's like being on the 50-yard line with 3 seconds left. Once we get to the part where we sell this asset, it's like, let's chuck the ball in the end zone and hope somebody catches it, because on the other, at the end zone is some lender who we have no idea who it is. And so we send emails for the course of 60 to 75 days saying, what's the status, and all we get back is, oh, there's just one last condition to clear. Oh, we're verifying one thing, otherwise they're good. And you know what the next letter you get is? The buyer's loan's denied. And you've spent 75 days paying taxes, insurance, hard money, loan costs. So we have used an addendum extremely successfully to control our variables for our clients. That's just like new construction, that says, buyer needs a $5,000 closing cost credit. That's fine. We'll give you that closing cost credit, but only if you use one of the following lenders. It's even more powerful now because it's a seller's market, right? Everyone says, oh, Gary, you lawyers, it all sounds good, but it never works in person. Well, here's the thing. You can at least tell them, look, big-haired agent from whatever particular real estate company that sold Avon and now, decides she's going to be the greatest real estate agent in the world. Sorry if any of them are on this call. And you have to use your lender. At least call my guy and, so that my client feels at least moderately content that this person can qualify to buy a bicycle. Because again, we need to control our variables. So all of these things I've developed over 15 years to keep my clients being able to produce a consistent product consistently. Because finding properties is tough. Doing the rehab's tough. Running around trying to chase these contractors that are borrowing Peter to pay Paul and, or using the money from, 3 jobs ago to finish the 3 jobs future to finish 4 jobs before. And, all this stuff is super, super hard. And we get to the end and it's like our strategy is, the same strategy that a lot of these politicians use, which is a strategy of hope. And hope is not a strategy. Hope lands you in bankruptcy court because a dream with a goal backed by a plan coupled with action becomes reality, not hope. Hope is for, Rachel Maddow, not for Gary Davidson. What other questions do we have? What did he say? Any government relief so Calvin wants to know, do we see government relief or retribution? Which relief, or what did you really mean there? Government, hopefully no retribution for landlords, but government relief for landlords following the eviction moratorium. Calvin, what party is in control of Congress? No, there's not going to be any, there's going to be zero relief for landlords. There's zero interest in landlords. One only needs to look to Cook County to see how they treat landlords, which are like lepers and people who are predators. There will be no relief for landlords even though 90% of the landlords in this country are people who carry a lunch bucket to work and simply have one investment property because they were a 150 operating engineer and they wanted to get some cash flow to create retirement. Our politicians believe that landlords are big corporations and big businesses out to get the little guy, which is not at all true. Most single family homes are owned by individuals who are trying to create a legacy worth leaving for their families, not by big, nameless, faceless corporations. But there won't be relief for landlords anytime in the near future. If I am wrong, I will be willing to say I am wrong, and I will be glad, but I doubt that's going to be happening. Okay. Regarding the Illinois wholesaling law, essentially, couldn't you put the property under contract in an LLC and sell the LLC at closing? No, Jonathan, you can't. The Illinois Real Estate Property Transfer Act specifically says the transfer of any interest in an LLC or a corporation or the beneficial interest of a trust is deemed to be a property transfer under Illinois law. This is something that is very, very commonly bandied about on investor websites. Out of state people are talking about transferring beneficial interests of a trust. All of those are deemed to be property transfers under Illinois and are deemed to be brokerage activities for purposes of real estate and, more importantly, subject to transfer tax. So all of this stuff, I don't know why, but I feel like I'm a little bit on my high horse tonight. All of this stuff there are ways to skin cat. There's nobody that has more ways to maneuver within the ambits of what we have and move the pieces on the chessboard than me. And I can figure that out for people. But there are a lot of things that are being put out there, and you got to get off of these Facebook groups where everybody's got opinions, because it's going to get you in trouble. And following the advice of somebody that is responding on these Facebook groups, I mean, let me tell you, first and foremost, and there's people on here that, you know, named Antonio and others who are friends of mine, these are the sophisticated investors. And I guarantee you one thing, they're not responding to people's questions about LLCs on, you know, the Chicago Real Estate Wholesaler Club on Facebook. So the most sophisticated investors, my hedge funds, private equity groups, high net worth individuals, they're not the ones that are cavalierly placing legal opinions on Facebook. It's people that have too much time on their hands that aren't doing, and they're out there playing like they're an investor. So for the most part, 90% of that stuff is garbage. Are these, well, I should probably answer these questions quicker. You guys are really putting them up here. City hates landlords. Gary, what do you call it? Registered. What do you call it? Register as what with the state, please? So I think what you're asking is you're going to file to register as a foreign entity. So certificate to register on the Secretary of State website in Illinois. If you had a Utah corporation, it's called a certificate to register or some such thing like that. All right, we're gonna, I was getting political, so that's okay. I mean, that's fair comments, Betsy. If I got political, you have the right to too. As far as with the state is applied to LLC or S corp as well as, yes. If you register with the state, it applies to LLCs and S corporations, both. Single member LLC protected in Illinois, surely. So for a real estate, for buying and holding, this is just 10,000 foot stuff, guys. Anything that's held over 12 months, it should be in an LLC. A single member LLC is a flow-through entity. Profits and losses are going to be reported on your individual tax return, and that is plenty of protection. For, the only thing that's subject to attack by a creditor is that which is in the single member LLC, and you're good as long as you follow the Limited Liability Company Act, even if it's a single member. It's not going to be a disqualified entity in Illinois. Illinois allows that. Piercing the corporate veil, how important is the content of the operating agreement versus making sure not to commingle money in the annual meeting minutes? Yes. So Kim, all of that. It's not a binary choice. The content of the operating agreement and not commingling money and annual report meeting minutes all are requirements under appellate and Supreme Court law, as well as the Illinois Business Corporation Act. No annual meeting minutes are required for a limited liability company, and no annual minutes are required for a single member S corporation or LLC, because unless you're bipolar, you don't have to have a meeting with yourself. So I think I've bloviated here for about an hour and 10 minutes. So if there's no further questions, if there's no further questions, I am available at gdavidson@castlelaw.com, gdavidson@castlelaw.com. I am fairly small L liberal with my time, with people, to answer very quick questions. Otherwise, I offer a 1-hour consultation, and we can do a deep dive on your goals and getting you set up to get to the next level, and of course on all things legal, for $250. My law office is set up much like a medical office, in that we have individual attorneys that specialize in specific matters. So if you're coming to us to syndicate and do SEC filings and fundraise, you're going to go to the tax lawyers. If you're coming to us regarding mechanics liens, you're going to go to mechanic lien lawyers, litigation, etc. I own the company. I had the real estate group, which is acquisitions and dispositions, and more importantly, I had a group that is really not a group within our law offices, which is to help each and every one of you grow, succeed, to learn, and to build that life worth living, that career worth having, that business worth owning, and that legacy worth leaving. And for all of us to try to leave this world a better place, and help our fellow man along the way. So thanks for having me tonight. Hugo, thanks. DealVault provides so much value to investors to give them the inside edge and the leg up on real estate investing. And I know, Hugo, that you share those same core beliefs that I do.
Thank you very much, Gary. Guys, let's please give a big round of applause to Gary. So thank you very much, Gary. I mean, as usual, you're amazing when it comes to content, service, adding value to people's lives is just incredible. Just Gary's commitment to making you guys more successful, it's just mind-blowing, okay? That's all he thinks about. How can we add value to our investors? I mean, it's just very grateful and humbled to have you with us, being very supportive, a great friend. And, I look up to you, Gary, for everything that you've built for other people, everything you've done for yourself. So thank you very much for being part of this incredible group. I greatly appreciate it.
Thanks, Hugo. I'm heading to hockey now. We got a hockey game at 9.
Okay. No, thank you very much, Gary. I know you're extremely busy, so thank you very much for taking time out of your busy schedule.
Okay.
So before we, thank you, Gary. Before I let you go, guys, I see 2 people on the line. Antonio Espinosa he's a key player in this industry. He's done hundreds of flips. So Antonio, I would like to bring you up just for you to give a tip of advice to our audience. I mean, you've been in real estate for many, many years. You've done incredibly well for yourself. So if you don't mind, I know I'm putting you on the spot. We just texted earlier. So please give us some words and tip of advice for our audience.
So hi, everyone. So I wish you the best. I think it's the best time to invest in real estate right now, like Frank Motro say. And by the way, Gary and Frank are the best to handle our business. So I don't know what to say, Hugo.
What would you, let me be more specific. What would you advise to people who are new to real estate? That's one advice. And the second thing, what would you advise for 2021 to our audience, whether they're new or seasoned investors? Because
so the first one, you need to focus. If you want to do the real estate as a career, focus on the real estate. You're gonna be more successful if you focus 100% and the real estate. I know many who do real estate, they do another side, and it's my focus for me gonna be high. I'm not expecting to crack until the courts open. See how many people are behind, how many will be, and I think 2021 for proper. This is my for 2021. So much. Have a good time. Hello? I think they say that I'm breaking up.
Yeah, we lost you for a while.
You breaking up, and now we can't hear Hugo.
Okay.
Now it was gone. So,
my advice is to start focus on the real estate. And for 2021, I think it's gonna be still hot. It's gonna be a low inventory in the market, and it's gonna be a big possibility and a big opportunity for investment and flippings, and work with the wholesalers. And it's a good opportunity right now to find properties, do a rehab, and put it 30, 60 days after the rehab in the market, and you're gonna get multiple offers. So focus 2021. If you wanna be yourself in the real estate, do real estate 100% if you can. And it's the only advice that I can do. Thank you so much, everyone. Hugo, I was not expecting this. Thank you so much. Good luck for this 2021. Gary is the best attorney, and Frank Motro and all the teams is a really, really honest person. And just focus on the real estate. Get if you don't know something, always ask. Always ask in the real estate because there's many opportunities. Remember that when I started in this business 2010, I asked, and I asked to the right persons. And when you ask to the right persons any question, you're gonna learn from others. And this is the key to be successful, not even in real estate, in life. Thank you so much, guys. Good night.
We cannot
Hugo, we can't hear you.
We cannot hear you.
Unmute yourself.
You guys hear me?
There you go.
Okay, perfect. So
Thank you so much. thank you so much for everything. I was not prepared to do this webinar, but you know what? Focus, get the right people and the right persons, and 2021, focus yourself and flipping houses, rehab it, put it in the market, and you're gonna be successful. Any question, always ask people. This is the key. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Antonio. Okay,
Thank
perfect. Okay, guys. Juan Loya, would you like to give last advice to the audience? Okay, well, we get one on the line. So, guys, I want to share with you something really cool that we're putting together for all of you. So we already created a wholesale inner circle team, and we're creating another one, cash flow inner circle. So this is what we're doing. We're doing live training calls once a week. So the wholesaling team has already built up to 80 members. So if you want to be part of that, please send us an email to support@Chicago Deal Vault. Please, can you post it in the chat if you want to be in this training program. If you want to be in the cash flow, we're going to be focusing on a 10-week training course, and it's going to have a live training call every Sunday. And then we're going to review deals. We're going to share what we're doing behind the scenes. We're bringing the key players to these trainings. So it's going to be super amazing. I want to share with you how you're going to be able to build up your rental empire if you decide to join the cash flow inner circle. So we're going to have a limited free entrance to these groups for the next months, just for the first 2 weeks of February. So if you're interested in either one of these two groups or both, please send us an email to support@Chicago Deal Vault. Let us know what team you're interested in, and then we're going to send you a formal invite. So it's going to be super exciting. Thank you, everyone, for joining. I look forward to seeing you on Sunday. On Sunday, we have a great event. It's called a face-off. So we're bringing the top wholesaler in the Chicagoland area. We're bringing a major rental portfolio owner, over 100 units, and then we're bringing a flipper, big-time flipper. So 3 key players in different exit strategies. So please don't miss that on Sunday, 1 p.m. I want to see you all there. So thank you, everyone, for joining. If you register for the event, you're going to get the replay first thing in the morning tomorrow. If you have any questions, we're going to remain on the line for the next couple of minutes. Other than that, everyone have a wonderful evening. If you have any further questions, please send them via the chat, or I'll be here for the next couple of minutes. Vicente, glad to see you online as well.
Awesome.
Juan Loya.
Thanks, Hugo.
Oh, Juan Loya, before you leave, if you want to give some words of advice for our audience, I know you've built a great rental empire in the last 2 years. So please share your advice for 2021 for newbies. Thank you.
My biggest advice to everybody is build a great team around you. Align yourself with the best people in any particular specialty. It just so happens that a lot of the speakers that Hugo has for the Deal Vault happen to be the people that I do business with. For instance, Gary is my attorney because he is the best attorney. He's the best guy in the business, right? And so I strongly encourage you to look for the best specialists in whatever it is that you need. Get the best attorney, your insurance guy is your partner, your attorney is your partner, your financing team is your partner. So again, from my end, obviously I'm a mortgage lender. So, I'm a residential mortgage lender, but part of my team are some great private money lenders. That's where I borrow money from, is through private money lenders, or I also work with commercial lenders. And again, I'd certainly hope to be your lending partner as a residential lender. But again, it's build the best team that you can. The best home inspector, attorney, accountant, lending partners, your training partner. The Deal Vault is is huge. A ton of information, and it's a great network to be a part of. So my advice to everybody is build the strongest network that you can and align yourself with the best specialists that you can. And I think that is the number one thing that has led to my success is having great people in my corner. And I'm blessed to have been able to in 18 months I was able to acquire 20 doors, and I've got a nice beginning, and we're going to continue to build, but just build the best team that you can.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Juan. All these key players are going to be part of the Cash Flow Inner Circle. So make sure that you send us an email if you're interested in it. So congratulations, Juan. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Have a wonderful evening. I look forward to seeing you all on Sunday, 1 p.m. It's going to be really amazing. Vicente, glad you joined tonight.